Good afternoon. My name is Chris, and I'll be your conference operator today. At this time, I'd like to welcome everyone to this conference call. For this call, Mayor Melissa Blake and Bob Couture, Director of Emergency Management for REOC, will be fielding questions related to the wildfire situation. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you'd like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. Bob, you may begin your conference.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We are working hard here at the Regional Emergency Operations Center in preparation of a phased reentry of residents scheduled to begin June 1st. First, I'll give you an overview of the most up-to-date fire information from Alberta Agriculture and Forestry. The wildfire is considered out of control and is estimated to be approximately 566,188 hectares and is located in Fort McMurray region. There are 1,298 firefighters, 59 helicopters, and 188 pieces of heavy equipment fighting this wildfire. The temperature today is forecasted to be 23 degrees, low relative humidity of 35%, winds east at 20 kilometers an hour gusting to 35, and there is a 30% chance of light precipitation in the form of showers and thunder showers. We also like to remind residents that voluntary reentry scheduled to begin on June 1st remains contingent on meeting the 5 following conditions. The wildfire is no longer a threat or an imminent threat. Critical infrastructure to support essential services is repaired and restored to provide basic service levels. Essential services are restored to reside basic level, including emergency services and safe transportation to and from within the community, and emergency medical and patient care. Hazardous areas are secure. Local government is reestablished. I want to reiterate that we are working to meet the 5 reentry conditions and are currently on track for June 1st. If you plan on returning during the phased reentry, you must bring 14 days worth of supplies, including food, medical prescriptions. Be aware that drinkable water will not be available in the region until well into June. Although air quality has improved recently, it may continue to fluctuate. Residents should be aware that it may worsen and to make their own decisions based upon this. Respirators will be made available for each household during reentry. I now like to pass things over to Her Worship Mayor Melissa Blake.
Well, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Having Bob's update certainly keeps us on track for how we're advancing toward the reentry date. And it seems like, for the most part, things are going quite smoothly and that we are expected to meet all of those 5 conditions as we go to the June 1st for the first entry, folks. The council meeting that was held earlier this week have some other confirmations to that. The Wood Buffalo RCMP detachment is resuming their role as the community's policing force, and we will have those emergency services again in situ at the community level. The Fire Smart plans were also discussed on the council agenda, which includes the reduction of hazardous materials around the urban area in proximity to the homes. And you may look at this a bit ironically, saying, well, if they were so smart, why did it catch fire near the community? But I will assure the public that we've had these plans advancing since 2010. We've had other circumstances in our area that have actually advanced some of that work. But what the public need to know and understand is that this Fire Smart program is clearly and truly essential to our safety with that interface with the rural environment that we're such a big part of. And the changes that community neighborhoods will see either upon reentry or shortly thereafter are again in the efforts of ensuring mitigation for any of the fresh fuels or the green forests that we have, and again that interface with the public. So you're going to see some very different things in our community when you return, and you need, again, not to look only at the moment that we're in, but what we can do with that into the future, because I think there's some great opportunity in some of these fire smart areas to reintegrate community and vision and the ability for neighbors to come together, much as we've learned to do through this entire process. Local businesses were the finer element on that council agenda package, and frankly, we know how near and dear they are to our hearts. And the fact that we've got these challenging circumstances with us, they will be critical partners from the moment of reentry and every day beyond. And some of those, of course, are so critical that they came in early to be in anticipated preparation of our citizens' return. So at this point, we recognize there's some frustration, but we promise that when we're going forward, we'll have a plan that will be very inclusive of our local businesses for the input, the insight, the development of the phases that are a part of that plan are yet to come. So that will sort of conclude my overview, mostly from the council meeting that we've had and where we expect to go in the future. The other part would be congratulations, I guess, on the wonderful announcement and the lineup of performers that were just released at 11 this morning for the Fire Aid Fort McMurray Benefit Concert happening this Sunday at the in the Edmonton area, again at. All right. I so much apologize for that. My call ended up being dropped, and my conclusion of the remarks is really just to say thanks to the benefit concert organizers and an encouragement for Fort McMurray folks and everybody else who enjoys a good show to maybe take part in that. I will conclude my comments at this point, apologize for the dropped call, and hope that we can get into questions.
And at this time, I'll just remind everyone that if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. The first question is from Bradley Karp with Country 93.3. Your line is open.
To whoever can answer in regards to the reentry, on the first day, is there a certain timeline that you're expecting to kind of open the floodgates and let people in, or is it, basically 12:01 in the morning on the first and people can start driving in the neighborhoods? And are there going to be restrictions in place in regards to people being able to access the neighborhoods that aren't able to be reentered as of yet? So let's say someone from the lower town site on the first, can they drive into Thickwood?
Thank you, Brad. It's Bob Couture here. In answer to your question, we are going to have develop that time of that we will be opening the gate, so to speak, at 881-63 to allow access, and we will put that out here shortly in the next couple of days of what time that will exactly be. As you can understand, there's some complexities with that. We don't want people sitting on the highway at 1 o'clock in the morning or sitting on the highway in anticipation of that time, and we'll put some planning into that. In regards to the access to the town site, and for example, as phase 1, the people that live in the lower town site and they work in Timberley or Thickwood, they will be allowed access to go into their place of work. But again, we're asking people to abide by those zone conditions, and we trust and we hope that people would abide by that, and just out of respect as we try to load into the community and not all at once.
And just a quick follow-up to that, if you will. So there won't be any way of checking IDs to make sure that the people who are entering on day 1 are supposed to enter on that day. You're really just hoping that people kind of abide by the rules that you've set out?
Correct, Brad. And our community, as you know, when we had the evacuation out of the community, and it was done in a very orderly manner, and people respected each other's rights, and did it in the best and most efficient means possible. And that's the same thing as our community. When we're bringing our community back and our residents back in, we're hoping that they also respect what we're asking to do. And again, it's to load that many people in the community at one time causes problems of overloading the system. We want to do in that staged effect, so out of respect of all residents.
Thank you.
The next question is from Chris Vandenbreekel with Mix 103.7. Your line is open.
Yeah, hi guys. So my question's in relation to the respirators. So in the re-entry booklet here, it talks about how 1 respirator per kit. So what about families? Will they be getting additional respirators for everybody in their household, or how is that working?
Again, we'll have that developed into the plan, and a huge task on our part, but we have to be flexible on that, and we'll be prepared to adjust those needs as required.
So will families have respirators then, like for every person in their family?
Well, again, in the information pamphlet, it pretty well lays it all out, and we're asking people to be prepared when they come in. And the expectation is that as they roll into the community, and then, where's a respirator for myself? It's the same thing as we're being very forward and upfront regards you when you come in. Bring 14 days of groceries. Bring your medications. Be self-sufficient. Be self-sufficient regards to the air quality index. The understanding of that, the information in the pamphlet, and be prepared prior to coming in.
So are you saying for family units that they should bring with their own respirators then?
That's correct, is that, those decisions are based upon your own individual interpretation of the air quality index. It's an advisory and understanding what it means. And as a family, you should be prepared for that. And be prepared is that we know that there will not be drinkable water during a time frame. And again, it's an awareness of making those decisions to come in the community and be prepared for that on your own.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
If I could just add a little bit to that, one of the factors that we have sincerely been promoting is that this voluntary reentry means that you should have your own preparations available. The contingency on being able to go back into the community is such that the air quality is not going to be harmful to human health. Some people we recognize have higher sensitivity to the environment, so asthmatics in particular, and if you look at the elderly and children, we're not recommending that these folks be slated for early reentry, but they are eligible to come in if that's what the family chooses. If people are doing that, though, the other thing about the N95 respirators, after doing a little bit of online research, is they're disposable units. And essentially, when you go through day one, you may or may not actually need to wear it. But when you exhaust the one in your kit, you're going to want to have a backup supply in case the scale of air quality starts to shift while you're in the environment. And it's just really personal preparation is going to be everything. But we're not going to let people back in unless that air quality is something you could manage to consume without hazard.
The next question is from Michael Boyer with CTV Television. Your line is open.
This question is for Mayor Blake. Curious, what is the process for individuals, specifically those who were living in Fort McMurray, who are looking for work to rebuild? And also, to add on to that, Darby Allen said that priority for the rebuild and the cleaning and the restoration was going to be given to Fort Mac companies, but we're hearing of a lot of companies from outside of Alberta who are looking, for example, to hire residents from the Ottawa area only and nobody from Fort Mac. So if you could shed some light on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, what I will say is that we have a very high commitment to our local business and community. We recognize that these are extraordinary circumstances, that we've had them out of play for quite some time. And to the extent possible, if we're able to utilize the resources that exist, then that's exactly what our plan would be to do. We also know that some of these activities are going to be probably bigger, maybe beyond expertise or availability of labor supply, et cetera, that would be more open for, I think, other competitive firms coming in. There is no way that we have contracted anybody to do external recruiting. We have had a 10% rate tracking on our unemployment, and clearly, again, as mayor and as council, we would very much be prioritizing some of the local needs first.
What do you have to say to these agencies who are saying, I have a post in front of me, only hiring people from the Ottawa area? For an example, that's just one of many that we've come into contact. How are those companies being contracted out by the municipality?
They're not being contracted by the municipality, and that's part of the confusion that I know many of our citizens, including myself, have is, well, who are these guys and what is it that they're doing and who are they doing it for, because it doesn't appear on our list.
Okay, thank you very much.
And again, as a reminder, star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from Lydia Neufeld with CBC. Your line is open.
Thank you. This is a question to Mayor Blake. We've been hearing from some first responders saying to us they have some concerns about June 1st as a reentry date, skeptical of that reentry date, saying raising safety concerns. How are you completely confident at this point that June 1st is the right date to move forward on?
I'm completely confident that I'm completely confident that we have to meet the safety requirements. And so any of those things that are of any kind of hazard to public would not be grounds for reentry. We've got the list of the 5 criteria. 4 out of 5 are pretty easy. But some other stuff that's in there means that we wouldn't bring people in unless we had a certainty that was going to be fine for people to do.
And when will you make sure, I guess, will you be reassessing that as late as, say, before midnight on,
yes,
the 31st?
Without question, every single day we're assessing that and trying to make our own understanding about what the factors at play could be. And I think that even as we go through this process, there are shifting sifting basis of knowledge and what we might look at. And so, frankly, we can expect probably to get some reporting back related to the burned out homes that have gone down to the ground and beyond, and then the habitation potential for neighborhood communities that are still in existence in proximity. So these are still known unknowns at this point, but we're in investigation for that, and we'll have to come with some very direct communication to the public when we know what the results are.
Okay. Are you hearing anything from evacuees about returning? Are they fearful? Are they worried? Are you hearing anything from residents yourself?
Because there are so many residents, there are so many different viewpoints that are coming in, and I think that we respect the individual considerations that each put in, but I've heard from some of the most adamant to want to go home to some of the ones that are more reluctant and looking to wait till things are a little better off. So you're going to have a whole range and variety in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Showing no further questions at this time, we'll turn the call back over to the presenters.
All right. Well, let me thank you for the opportunity to respond to some of these questions. And again, where we've got the approaching date, we will be monitoring this very closely as we go forward. We will be looking very much forward to the first to return folks and helping hopefully to sort through some of the challenges that we expect that they will be seeing and experiencing in the community. My greatest encouragement to our citizens is that, again, what you're going to see on day one is not what you're going to see 3 years, 5 years, 10 years out. And as we plan that rebuild of our community, we do it in the same manner that we're doing our reentry. We want to be safe, we want to be resilient, and we want to be together. And timelines are not as critical to me as the safety priorities that are so much a part of this reentry. So for folks who are anxious to get home, welcome home. For those who are going to take a little longer, we'll welcome you just as handily at that point in time.
Thank you for the opportunity to have this discussion this afternoon. One thing that I would like to table and is that as we continue to work to have our essential services brought back on, for example, our grocery stores, gas stations, pharmacies, that's important for us to work on that, to focus on that, to get those essential services. We have many, many, many companies, many service providers, many non-essential service providers that are constantly asking they want to be brought into now. We have very limited accommodations. We have very limited ability to feed people within the environment here. As we get just pushed on this issue, it's stalling our process to get our essential services back up. I'm asking that if you have no need to come to Fort McMurray or to travel to Fort McMurray, you're not invited as part of the essential service rehabilitation, do not come to Fort McMurray. You will be stopped at 881 and 63, and you'll be turned around and sent the 5 hours back down to Edmonton. It is hampering our operation. Thank you.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.